Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Now if you're new here, we talk about all things fandom, and we talk about them in a positive way. If that's something that interests you, you've come to the right place, and we are so glad to have you here. So, let's jump right into all the news across the fandom today. Okay everyone, so let's jump right into everything. So, one of the biggest news across the fandom today has been that Amblin Entertainment, which is owned by Steven Spielberg, has apparently made a deal with Netflix to do several movies. I don't know how many several is, but they're going to be doing several movies over the next couple years. This actually comes on the heels of their contract with Universal being extended last December. Now, this is actually a pretty cool thing because this means that Amblin Entertainment, which, has this massive production value, is going to be doing movies for Netflix, who at times, if you're being honest, tends to reach sort of for the bottom of the barrel of entertainment. They get some of the cheapest production values to do their original movies. This is going to up their ante by a whole lot. This is going to make them so much better. And to have that kind of backing, that's not going to hurt the platform at all. So if you've ever been on the fence about possibly becoming a Netflix member and you're not already, well, remember that Amblin Entertainment, is the one who brought you E.T., the one who's brought you a lot of things over the years that have been outright classics, outright, wonderful things, and just brilliant stuff. So keep that in mind too when you are looking at that. Now, what that noise was a minute ago. You have dogs. They run around. They do things. I have no idea. Alright. So, that being said, let's jump to our next topic, because Amblin Entertainment being Netflix's new provider of movies, making that sort of deal, I consider that a pretty epic news story. Now, our next story is a bit on the sad side. Last week, after I did my video, of course, for the news across the different fandoms, something bad actually happened. We lost one of the greatest actors of our time. And I know a lot of people can implant a deliverance joke here. If Ned Beatty couldn't make it up that hill, you ain't got a chance, or whatever you want to say. But the fact is, Ned Beatty, we lost Ned Beatty, who actually is one of the most wonderful actors of our time. And I may be a little biased in saying this, as he plays in what I oftentimes will quote as my favorite movie of all time, which is Superman 2. I never actually have a ultimate favorite movie, as being a movie fanatic the way I am, I oftentimes find that it changes over time. But the interesting fact about that is that when I don't have a favorite movie at any given time, my immediate fallback is Superman 2. So it was extra hard to think about Ned Beatty, not being around anymore, as it will be for any of the Superman 2 stars, and he's the fourth or fifth we've lost. There have been several of the stars of the Superman franchise that have died, and with each passing one, I mourn them all a little more, but I don't let it bother me. I take the movie in stride, and actually, the day I found out, I popped in Superman 2, sat down and watched, because Superman 2 is one of my absolute favorite scenes with Ned Beatty. They're in the front of the prison getting ready to be rescued by Miss Tessbacher, and Miss Tessbacher goes, "It's too heavy, Lex, it's too heavy." And they kick poor Ned Beatty off, so he's surrounded by guards. I actually read a theory that he ended up, and this theory is so stupid, I don't even believe I'm going to tell you this. I just thought it was funny. I read it on a site. I went, okay, while it's in poor taste, it's a little bit funny. And you have to have some lightheartedness in the world. And I'm sure Ned Beatty, if he was listening to this theory, probably would have chuckled himself. And that is that Otis actually made it out of the prison somehow, hid out in the woods, where he ended up becoming the character in Deliverance. See, I told you it was a stupid theory, but the way they worded it, and I read it on Facebook, one of the little Facebook movie groups, and, I just went, ha ha, yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, so there's that. But Ned Beatty will be missed, and our prayers go out to his family. Now, SpaceX is back in the news yet again, as they have put a rocket into space, and a reused one at that, to take a GPS satellite onto a space station. Now, hey, that's great. My only regret is that, of course, Richard Branson wasn't the one doing this. But, hey, his outfits were cooler. SpaceX is cool, but Richard Branson's space outfits were cooler. But yeah, this is great news. This is really wonderful news, because to think that we're going to be able to start recycling and reusing rockets, this is where it begins. This is where I feel that whole thing begins, because now you have this situation where if you're going to be able to reuse these rockets, you're going to be able to reuse this stuff to keep going up, to keep doing things. It's going to make it easier. It's going to make it cheaper. And as long as they can do the repairs, it's going to make it feel a lot safer. Because when you want to go up in a rocket that made it in the past, or do you want them to rebuild each rocket from scratch? So while I do think that it is strange that we haven't gotten to this point before, I, for one, am very excited about this development. And SpaceX is slowly becoming one of my favorite things to talk about, because that's bringing all of our sci-fi films one step closer to being a reality. And the second we can go and live up on Mars safely, sign me up. Now, a bit more of a serious topic once again is that YouTuber Matthew Santoro was talking about, he did a video recently that he uploaded. Now, I won't share the link here, but he is someone that I highly recommend you watch. he has a lot of really great content and, provides a lot of entertainment for a lot of people. He does sort of a wide variety of topics, kind of like I'm trying to do here. Now, he doesn't do things about the fandom in general, but he does amazing facts you didn't know. He does readings of creepypasta. He does all sorts of little nice things, and I watch a lot of his videos. Now, he actually posted a video talking about depression over the course of the pandemic and how the world has changed. And what was actually weird about this was listening to him. I see where a lot of people really can fall into this pit of despair. And he talks about, kind of losing touch with friends and losing touch with real people around him. And it's important that you don't do that. It's important that if you don't go and hang out with people, that you start to do that. You start to realize that, hey, things are somewhat getting back to normal. I need to try to get back to normal. And it's important because we forget that humans need human contact to survive. I don't know why, but studies have shown that people who are more active in their communities live longer. So, he's talking about in this video about how he feels a little bit, he feels a little bit out of touch. He feels a little bit as though, he doesn't have the same passion to do things as he once did. But that doing these videos over the course of the pandemic has helped him. And I'm going to be honest, it made me actually think about why I started this channel, because you do want to make a difference in the world. And if you can help people get through a hard time, then you have done your job. And I can tell you this, there have been times in the past before the pandemic when I was feeling depressed, feeling sad about something. And we all do. We all do. Anybody who never feels depressed, who never feels sad at all, well, I want to meet that person, because I definitely want to be around them, and maybe some of that will rub off. But when I was feeling a little bit sad or depressed, sometimes I would pop on some of his most crazy things, strangest things you didn't know and stuff, and it proved to be a really fun group of videos to watch. He also kind of brings up the topic of he's noticed that when he talks to viewers one-on-one, the way I do right now to you guys, he said, when he doesn't have all the fancy edits and he doesn't have all the cool content and just does one-on-one with you guys and tells you what he's thinking, tells you what he knows, that he finds that these are some of the best videos he's done. I have to agree there. If I had to do a bunch of crazy edits on this channel, it might make it flow better. It might make it, pop a little better. But the one-on-one with me and you, sitting here talking, I feel that sometimes that's essential to do. Especially in these crazy times that we're living in, it's nice to know that someone's sitting there talking to you, telling you they care, that they do want to make a difference in the world with you. They want to make a difference in the world for you. I feel that we need more of the positivity that Matthew Centaro actually brings to the table. So if you are not subscribed to him, and if you do not know who he is, I actually encourage you to look him up. He does a lot of wonderful content. He's one of my personal favorite YouTubers, and it really struck a chord with me that he was talking about depression over the time of the pandemic. So, that brings us to our last little bit of news. Something to kind of brighten up your day. I know that summer's just begun. It's the time of the summer blockbuster movies. Well, unfortunately for us, there's not a lot of summer blockbuster movies out there yet this year. And sure, we're going to be getting some Marvel ones, but that's only Marvel. We're going to be getting a DC one. We're supposed to be getting a lot of movies, but it seems to me like they are a lot farther away than what they seem, than what they actually are. If that makes sense, it's kind of like I can see that they're out there, I can see they're coming, but it still seems like summer blockbusters have gotten off to a really slow start. So, that got me to thinking, what can you do when your summer blockbusters have gotten to an all-time low? Well, you can go back and revisit some of the old classic ones. And wouldn't you know it, a lot of them are available for free right here on YouTube. That's right, YouTube actually has, and I know a lot of you are going, well, duh. Yeah, YouTube actually has a lot of old movies, though. Movies that you wouldn't even think of looking up on YouTube. I don't know about you, but I would never think of looking up movies on my YouTube. It's not something I do. Unless it's a movie that I had on VHS a long time ago and I just go, oh, I gotta find it. Like Fright Night 2. Fright Night 2, I had on VHS, and I could never find it on DVD. Never. So I looked it up on YouTube. I watched it on YouTube every Halloween after I watched Fright Night, and then eventually I did find it on DVD, and of course had to buy it. Now, there's a lot of movies like that that you can look up and find. But we're going to focus on some of the more quasi-classic fandom type of movies. So here are a few that stand out to me. Here are my top 5 picks of absolutely free movies you can find currently on Netflix. The 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. This movie is absolutely great. It's a wonderful watch. It's a bit dark. I remember watching this movie at the time it came out and just thinking, okay, this is, wow. This is a little darker than the cartoons. This is a little darker than some of the stuff I remember. But it's pretty true to the graphic novels. There's a few tweaks and differences along the way, but in terms of actual looks and feels, it doesn't do a bad job of adapting the novels. If you can get past the fact that not all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are wearing the red bandanas the way they actually do in the graphic novels, if you can get past the fact that Jim Henson's Monster Shop actually made all of the creatures for the movie, it actually is a pretty fun, kind of dark, really cool little superhero movie. Classic. One of probably what would have been, if it had come out today, probably would have been a hit even still. It feels a little dated only by some of the things they wear, only by some of the things they say. But still a very good movie if you've never seen it. or if you just want to revisit it, it's on Netflix for free right now with commercials. And let's face it, you'd be watching a YouTube video and there's 15 commercials in a 15-minute video. So, what's a couple commercials in an hour and a half movie, you know? The next one is one of my all-time favorite horror movies, and I don't even know why. The 2001 version of 13 Ghosts. Alright, I do know why. It's because it has Matthew Lillard in it. And I absolutely adore Matthew Lillard. I adore everything he's in. From Scream all the way to Good Girls that he's in currently. He just has something about him that when I'm watching him, he feels real no matter what he's playing. He feels like, to me, sort of that fun, goofy, every guy that maybe not so always cool person that you can meet on the street. And there's something appealing about that. But then also there's the fact that he can act. And, you know, I actually buy him in the roles he's playing. So, the movie 13 Ghosts, the 1990 version, is a remake of the classic. And if you haven't seen the classic, I would actually recommend finding that as well. But the 2001 version is available on YouTube right now to watch. And with commercials, it's not that bad of a deal. I don't think they're going to edit anything out, but, you know, be warned if they don't. There's some legitimately scary stuff there that is just... The movie still is haunting. It's still one of the best horror movies that I've seen. One of the best remakes I've seen, anyway, of any horror movie. The next is Robin Hood Men in Tights. Come on now. Robin Hood Men in Tights. You have the dread pirate Roberts from The Princess Bride as Robin Hood. And he gets to say the greatest line in all Robin Hood's films. Unlike some Robin Hoods, I can talk with a British accent, which I can't. So, but he can, and he can say that line, and it actually is cool. Now, a lot of people at the time laughed because that was a direct reference to the fact that Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves had come out. And Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves had Kevin Costner, who refused to speak with a British accent, apparently, or maybe just couldn't. He kind of does a different type of thing there, and it works. The film isn't bad. But Robin Hood Men in Tights just gets the whole, Mel Brooks treatment. It butchers all of those films so bad and in such a delightful way. If you have never seen the movie, it is definitely worth checking out. And yes, it is on YouTube for free with all your wonderful YouTube commercials. So next up, we have Teen Wolf. And Teen Wolf is Michael J. Fox in the 80s, right after Back to the Future. He was riding high on the hog, doing all these films. It was really great. And the whole thing with that is we later get this TV show. And there's nothing wrong with the TV show. I will say this. The TV show didn't appeal to me immensely at first. The idea of it didn't appeal to me immensely at first. I actually slowly became a fan of it. And not for the reasons that you would think. There are characters in the movie that are just really missed in the series. But the series comes into its own in a completely different way. If all you know is the series, you need to go back and watch this really funny comedy. Because that's what Teen Wolf is. It's a comedy, not this fantasy horror drama done in a CW way while still being on MTV. It's just a wonderful, wonderful movie and still holds up in a lot of ways today, while in a lot of other ways it is completely dated. There's nothing wrong with a movie being dated. Some of the best classic movies are classics because they are dated. So remember that. And if you've never seen Teen Wolf, you gotta check it out on YouTube. So the last movie I'm gonna recommend is one of those it's a classic to some and sort of, a non-classic to others. Now, it's crazy because once I say it, people who know. And the people who don't really need to figure that out. It's the Masters of the Universe movie with Dolph Lundgren. It is absolutely cheesy. It is so wonderful. It is such an 80s movie that it is like completely off the rails. It stars Courtney Cox, who would later go on to be in Friends. And it just has Dolph Lundgren as He-Man. And Dolph Lundgren as He-Man is perfect and unperfect in every possible way. He really is. He's perfect and unperfect in every single possible way. He's not your ideal He-Man. He just came off the heels of playing the Mad Russian in the Rocky movie. If he, and where you get to hear Bridget Nelson go, if he dies, he dies. And, so he was like this level of ruthlessness in that movie with the short, cropped hair. And we get to see him transform into He-Man. And what's crazy is Dolph Lundgren in real life is crazy, crazy smart. But this movie is every bit of 80s cheese that you can possibly squeeze into one movie, and it's glorious for it. It is definitely a guilty pleasure. There is nothing wrong with the movie, and yet, if you're a He-Man fan, you're sitting there the whole time going, wow, yeah, okay. And if you've watched it, you know what I mean. And if you haven't, and you consider yourself a He-Man fan, you owe it to yourself to watch this movie. Because it is a very, very crazy little movie. Now, that being said, I don't have a lot more to talk to you today about, so I will say this. Just like Matthew Centero was talking about, liking the idea of talking to you guys and feeling as though it is very therapeutic and helps people out to have someone talk to you without all the fancy editing. I myself do this for the simple reason that I want to eventually change the world. It's not what you take from this. It's not what you take with you. Not what you have with you when you're in this world. it is what you leave behind. And I definitely want to leave something behind. So for that reason, I'd like to donate a portion of our profits to Tourette's research and possibly to some other researches along the way. If we can make a difference in the world, that's what we should do. So help me to make this channel grow. Let's make a difference in the world together. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. And just so that YouTube don't think that that we're not talking, go ahead and drop a comment. You could drop a comment of a couple things, and I'll answer your questions about Tourette's. I'll answer your questions about whatever topics we talked about here today. Just make sure that you are leaving a comment, because I want to hear from you. Now, so after you've hit that subscribe button, left that comment, hit that notification bell, so you know when we do our next video. And, oh yeah, don't forget to hit like. And we'll see you all in the next video. So, everyone, be safe out there. And remember this. Fandom is family. Be safe out there.